Suffixes on Av and Ach. Now this is probably the most complicated module, the most difficult module in this section, but I'll walk through it carefully, and if you remember a couple of things, it's really not too difficult at all. But this is also the module where I'll point out the paradigm that I think you should memorize, the only one in this chapter. But once you see what the patterns are, it won't be too difficult. What happens here with these two words, Av and Ach, father and brother, is that they add a Hiddic yud between the noun and the suffix. So over here we have the base noun, Av or Ach, then we have Hiddic yud, and then we have our pronominal suffix. Now, if you remember back chapter 14, when we dealt with the two sets of pronominal suffixes, we had one for singulars, so one for singular nouns, and another set that go on plural nouns, and we noted that the yud is the marker of the plural. So with this yud here, these forms are going to start to look like plurals. If you're not careful, you're going to see yud and say, oh, okay, we're dealing with my father's or his father's, when in fact, you may in fact be dealing with my father. So the yud is going to make it look like a plural. But the Hiddic, over here, the Hiddic is going to distinguish it from the plural. So the key to this module is to remember that it's not just yud that is added with these two words, it is Hiddic yud. If you remember that, then you can keep these apart. So to emphasize that, I'm going to get rid of this and I'm going to do it again in green, just to really remember. Don't forget the Hiddic yud. The yud makes it look like a plural. The Hiddic distinguishes these forms from the plurals. And the reason it does is because in the plural, the endings that go on plural nouns, if you remember, they had all kinds of helping vowels, but none of them were Hiddic. We had comets, we had segol, we had patach, and then in the plurals here we had tsere all the way down. Okay? So we had all kinds of them, but none of them were Hiddic. So if you see Hiddic, you know you're dealing with a singular over here. Okay, that's the most important thing. The other thing is just a small point, and I had mentioned it before, is that in the 3ms form, you can get who. I mentioned that in chapter 14. Maybe we should just look at the paradigm now and be a little clearer. In fact, well, here it is with Av. So you see your Hiddics, you see your Hiddics first of all, but probably what the I would notice first is the yud. It stands by itself. And here's our who. So let's color them. So this looks like a plural, but if we remember that it's the Hiddic yud that's added, we can see that all these are singular. So this is my father, his father, not his father's. Now here in gray are the endings that go on plural nouns. So you can see we have our kamet, segol, patach, we have tseres all the way down here. So again, it's this helping vowel that will mark it as the singular. Now this is the paradigm I want you to memorize, this one here in the bright colors. So let me put my little M up here, just as a visual note, reminder of that. And the reason is because it's a little bit different. The endings are basically these here. These endings are basically these, but not entirely. This one is, aside from the helping vowel, so helping vowel changes all the way through, but aside from that, this is the same. You have yud vav, yud vav. Well, we have this extra one, but here we have yud vav and yud vav. We have yud ha, so eha, eha, avich, I shouldn't say eha, aviha, avicha. Here we had iha, icha, and here we have echa. So that's all the same except for the helping vowel. Here it's different. We have avich, and here we had ayich. Remember, this is that diphthong kind of ending. It's kind of strange. So this is actually a bit more regular, but this is where it's different. So if you think it's just the plural endings on here, on vav, or on av or ach, then you'll fall apart here. So memorize this set here. And the way to memorize it is just to remember it's the same as this set, except for here, and except for the helping vowel, which is the hitic. So, it shouldn't be too bad to memorize, actually. Now, what happens when these are in the plural? Av and Ach here in the singular. What happens when they go in the plural? Well, if you remember, Av, where should I write this here? Maybe up here. If you have Av in the plural, when we add the plural ending, it does the gender flip. Remember? So it looks like a feminine. It's got this feminine ending, but of course, father is masculine. And so with this, because you have this big heavy ot there, you can easily distinguish it from the singular. In fact, we already know these forms. Because avot, if you add a suffix on there, we'll get something like, that's supposed to be accent marker there, avotenu, our fathers. This is our fathers. Avinu is our father. So that big ot there, avotenu, clues you in that you're dealing with multiple fathers. And this form, if you remember, is the same as Torah, or Toratenu, which are the endings that go in the feminine plural nouns. And that's why I had you memorize that particular paradigm in chapter 14. Because if you know that one, then you know this one. It's no problem. And they're both very common. Avotenu is or father in the plural with suffixes is common in the Bible. And so it's good to be able to recognize that. So no problem there. With Ach, however, brother, when you put brother into the plural, it doesn't have an ot on the ending, and so it can be confusing. But if you remember our rule of hitic yud, hitic is always for the singular, you'll keep it straight. Now I have some other slides here. What do we have here? So we have Av. Here's our Av paradigm, and here's Ach. And this is simply to show you that Av and Ach are following the same paradigm. Yud's all the way through. They both have the hu here, and they both have hitic everywhere. Okay? And, okay, so this here, this looks so similar. This is Av, father. This is Ach, brother. On this slide, I have Ach and Ach. So we're dealing with brother in both cases here. This is brother in the singular, these green ones here, white and green. And the white and red is brothers in the plural. So look, they're very similar, aren't they? You've got yuds everywhere. If it was father, you'd have Av over here, but you'd have Avot. And so these would look quite different if they were father. But for brother, they look quite similar. But again, the way to distinguish them is the helping vowel. The yud makes them look similar, but the helping vowel distinguishes them. We have hitic all the way through in the singular, and here in the plurals we have just what we would expect for the plurals. We have our kamets, segel, segel, patach, patach, and sere all the way down here. In other words, no hitic. So, if you just remember that, remember hitic yud is what you have in the singular. Both of those pieces. You'll be able to distinguish this, no problem. I think that's it for slides. Yep. So, let me go back to this here. This is the one to memorize. Aviv, avihu. So Av in the singular. And that will carry you a long way.